hopefully all. Thank you for starting the recording. We are going to be recording this meeting for use in the future, and this is a design intent meeting for the Uvalda Street and Kittredge Street Bikeway projects. And this is a second of two meetings, but the first kind of more formal focused meeting. The first meeting took place during, during one of the council events. So just to get us quickly split out into language needs here. For interpretation, I'm going to let Francisco do both the English and Spanish of this. So Francisco, you want to explain this in both English and then Spanish, please?
Absolutely, Alicia. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Francisco Picado. I'll be one of the interpreters for your team of interpretation tonight. Jean, please go ahead and activate the interpretation channel and put Dwayne in the channel. The City of Denver and UV Consulting care deeply about your ability to express your opinions, and that's why these meetings are organized in a bilingual manner. In order to enjoy the interpretation service, in a minute you'll have a globe appear on the bottom right of your screen, and you click on that globe and select the language of your choice. Buenas noches a todos, bienvenidos. La ciudad de Denver y UV Consulting les importa mucho que usted pueda expresar su opinión y por lo tanto se organizan reuniones bilingües como esta. Para poder aprovechar los servicios de interpretación que están disponibles esta noche, y perdonen, mi nombre es Francisco, yo soy uno de sus intérpretes esta noche, por favor seleccionen el globito de la interpretación y escojan el idioma de su preferencia. Thank you, Alicia.
So everyone can go ahead and select that now if the channel is up. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so that I can do the same. Okay, I think everybody should have had the option. Please select English if English is the language you would like to hear this meeting in. Please select Spanish if Spanish is the language. Okay, I'm going to go over a few rules and a little bit of background here and then pass it off to Maggie. Rules of engagement for every meeting we've had ever since COVID started and we're doing virtual meetings. Make sure you use the chat box and or raise your hand during the Q&A session if you have a question. We probably won't stop in the middle of a group of slides for Q&A, but we may be responding to chat throughout. And then we have a few spots we'll stop to take live questions if you'd prefer that. Be respectful to everybody. These are your friends and neighbors, of course, and don't use profanities or inappropriate language. The other thing is, this is much of a reminder for me as anyone else, please speak slowly because we are doing interpretation and it helps the interpreters catch their breath and catch up. Orientation, in case any of this is new to you, this meeting is being recorded so you can send it to your neighbors later. And I'm going to actually be asking you something right at the end of this that'll re-emphasize that recording. Please mute yourself if you're not speaking and stay on mute until we call on you. Chat box is open. And after the meeting, we have the website and an email address as well that you can certainly coordinate with. Mute and video are shown here. You're welcome to be on video or not, whatever your preference is. And then the chat is selected. The first thing though I want to ask too is we have, and I'm going to pull back up my participant list here. We have a Nuggets game coming up tonight, which was certainly not something we intended to conflict with. It's great that they're in the finals here, but we want to make sure we get folks off to that if there's a lot of interest in that. So Everybody, including project team, you all have to be here. But if please raise your hand by hovering over the by clicking on the reactions box and selecting raise hand. If your one of your goals is to get off and get to that watching that Nuggets game tonight. So go ahead and do that now. Got a few. Right. You're talking about how you can best coordinate a public meeting with a Nuggets game. Okay, so you can unraise your hand now. We're going to try and reorient the meeting a little. And the reason I asked is because the next thing is the meeting overview. This was the original 1 hour schedule. We're going to try and condense the first 45 minutes of it into about 30 minutes, although may not quite make it that condensed. And that way we can be around for the second half an hour for Q&A and be available for questions, but that way you can get off to the game if you'd like. So the rough overview is just intro and background for a third of it, and then talking about the specifics of North Uvalda for a third of it, and then the specifics of Kittredge for a third. We'll get to Q&A. So this is the team that's working on this right now. I'm just listed on here so you know who's talking. I'm the moderator and kind of coordinate the outreach. Maggie's up here. She's the community designer and she's kind of the technical liaison. And so you all probably see her on other meetings and at events as well. Wesley is also on here and you'll hear from him today. And he's the design lead and is coordinating the technical details of the design. Taylor is the planning lead. She's not able to make it tonight. And then Geneva is kind of the overall lead for the Bikeway program, in case you've seen her before. So that's generally your team. We certainly have other folks supporting here that you may hear from as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maggie to give you all some background.
Hey there. Pardon me, a little bit of frog in my throat. Again, I'm Maggie, and I'm going to try to walk the balance of getting through this a little quicker than usual, but not speaking so quickly that our good friends over at Interpretation are having their heads spin. So I always think that it's important to start out framing why we're making changes to roadways in Denver. And one of the things that we've learned over the years is that making our roads safer for bicyclists, for pedestrians, makes it safer for everyone else, whether it's transit users waiting for a bus stop, whether it's folks driving down the street. So we've begun moving in that direction. And one of the goals in Denver through Denver's Mobility Action Plan has been to reach some pretty lofty, but I think achievable mode share changes. So how people get around. So hoping that we can get to a point where for folks who need to drive or choose to drive, there's more space and less congestion. For people who choose to take their bikes, there's places for them to ride. For people who take transit, there's safe spots for them to wait for trains and buses. And then for all those other folks who are maybe picking up kids at school or teleworking or carpooling, there's a place on the road for them as well. Next slide. So will Denverites bike? We're beginning to learn, and we've known this for some time anecdotally, but we're beginning to learn, yes. That is something that we have folks who are dedicated. I call them kind of the hardcore bicyclists. They'll bike anywhere. We have folks who are somewhat confident, who are maybe out biking today, even though there are places along their route that might not be perfect and connected. And then we have a big pool of people. Maybe that's you, maybe that's your neighbor who just got an e-bike rebate from the city and wants to go cruise around on the weekends. But there are a group of people who would love to get out either recreationally or for transportation, but they're cautious because they really feel most comfortable on a truly dedicated bike facility. So we're hoping that through these programs, we can get to those points and again, make these roads safe for everyone, whichever mode you choose or need to use. So again, why are we building these? We're trying to create a transportation network that is safe for everyone. We have the goal of 0 fatalities through our Vision Zero program. And we all know that that's not the case today, that there are fatalities on our roadways for all types of users. And our hope is to get to a point where we can eliminate that. We're also trying to prioritize these multimodal projects and making sure that we have more places for people to walk, bike, ride, take scooters through our communities to benefit both their health and congestion around the city. We want to increase options for people. We want to help folks who maybe you want to go down to 1 car in your household so that you can afford to go on that cool vacation this year and ditch the gym membership, and one person starts to bike to school or to work in your household to reach some of those goals and manage our traffic as the city grows. And then we'd love to improve access. We want to make sure for folks who maybe don't have choices, maybe for financial reasons, you need to take transit, you need to walk, you need to take the bus. We want you to have options, and we want those to be safe options. Next slide, please. So we've gone through many years of different plans to choose the places in our city where we're putting in these types of facilities. And so we'll go a little bit more into the areas that we've chosen in particular for these facilities in a few minutes, but know that this is not something that someone threw a dart at a map. We've been working on this for a long time, and we have a lot of great people working to create that network and create connections throughout the city. And we're at a point right now where if you live anywhere near bowling, the paving is coming, I promise, but paving season has begun. And so we've got our crews out there putting down fresh roadway, and we want to be efficient and good stewards of your tax dollars. And as we find places in our plan that we're getting ready to do paving on, we want to go ahead and take that opportunity to change the layout of that roadway and add in those new facilities that we have planned, because it saves us money and saves us time and energy down the road, where we're not scraping things off and putting them back down again. So again, paving is this great opportunity. Each year we have between 400 and 500 miles of roadway that get repaved. My street got repaved last week. It's nice and shiny and new. It looks great. And it's a key component to, keeping our roads safe and to adding in these facilities as we see the need going through the year in our paving program. Next up. All right, so a quick reminder, and this is a tricky one. I think sometimes we all get very attached. I know I'm very attached to some of the right of way that belongs to the city that's adjacent to my home. But I think it's always a good reminder just to orient ourselves. What is the public right of way that the city of Denver has the authority over? And essentially that goes from sidewalk edge to sidewalk edge. So it includes your sidewalks in front of your house. If you've got sidewalks, it includes that amenity zone or tree lawn. Some people even call it the hell strip, where it's so difficult to grow things. And then also the streets. All right, so I'm going to pass it off to Wesley now to give you a little overview of what our plans are for Uvalda.
Excellent. Thanks, Maggie. Hi, everyone. My name is Wesley Dismore. I am a senior engineer with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, and I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about the improvements that we have planned for Uvalda Street and Kittredge Street. So first up is a segment of Uvalda Street between 51st Ave and Maxwell Place. This is a map that shows the area that we're going to be working on. It's in the black dashed line box right up there. So that's a stretch of Uvalda Street that runs between Maxwell Place or 53rd Ave and 51st Ave. And this is a map that comes from one of our bicycle plans. This is Denver Moves Bikes. It shows which type of facilities exist in solid lines and which are planned in dashed lines So you can see that Uvalda Street is shown as a dashed purple line, which means it is a recommended protected bike lane. Right now, this is what we talk about that we have today, mobility in the corridor today as it exists. You can see a photo of the street on the right-hand side and some basic information about the street. We classify this street as a collector, which means it's a medium type of street. It's not as big as an arterial, but it's bigger than a local street. The posted speed limit is exactly 25 miles an hour. Has attached sidewalks, no bike facility right now, and it is home to the transit corridor for RTD Route 21. And you can see on the lower left here, we have the existing cross section, which shows how wide each of the lanes on the road is, as well as the 40-foot irrigation ditch in the middle of the road. When we get ready to do a project like this, we first go out and we collect data. This slide shows the traffic data, which includes the volume, which is about 3,500 vehicles per day, and the speeds, which is 26 miles an hour northbound and southbound. I'll take a moment to mention that this is what we call the 85th percentile speed, which means that's the speed that 85% of vehicles are traveling at that speed or lower or slower. This slide shows the crash data for Uvalda Street through the study corridor. You can see that we had 31 vehicle crashes along this corridor, and the yellow dots show how many of those crashes took place at each intersection. You can see that there's a higher concentration of crashes at the intersections of Maxwell Place, 55th Ave, and 51st Ave. So now's the part where we start talking about what we want to do. You can see on the left-hand side, this is what we call our facility selection chart. We use the speed and volume of traffic to decide, to show us what type of facility we prefer on this street. For Uvalda Street, because of the speed that we mentioned and the volume of traffic that we mentioned, you can see that orange dot falls in the green area, which means that we prefer a buffered bike lane. In this case, because we have a lot of extra space out on the road, we have elected to install a protected bike lane to provide extra protection for bicyclists using the facility and maintain safety and comfort. And since there is a lot of room out here on the road, we're not going to be losing anything additional by adding that buffer, or adding that protection in the buffer. This slide shows some of our planned mobility improvements. None of these are photos of the study corridor, but these are some of the examples of what we're going to be installing. So you can see a protected bike lane example, and you can see some examples of crosswalks and green, we call them green conflict markings, that better help us understand which space on the road is reserved for different users. You can see some of we call them flex posts, the white posts there with the reflective tape on them. And in the lower right-hand corner, you can see an example of a crosswalk and a stop bar, which will help improve pedestrian safety as well. Now I want to talk about some of the benefits that we'll have from installing this facility, which includes that it will connect both planned and existing bike facilities in the area, which you can see as the colorful lines on the map there, as well as the yellow person on the bike represents either a planned or existing facility. It's also going to connect some local destinations, which are represented as purple stars. So having this facility in place will make it easier to get around the neighborhood by bike, will also make it safer. And actually, it'll make it safer for everyone. The third line here says traffic calming, and we do know that providing dedicated bikeways and visually narrowing the width of the street helps people to drive slower and obey the posted speed limit, discourages excessive speeding, and increases safety for everyone who uses the road. And then the last point there is a quality connection. This protected bike lane is going to give a higher level of comfort and help a lot more people feel comfortable using the road. Just like Alicia was talking about, Alicia and Maggie were talking about the different types of bicyclists. We're going to be helping those interested bicyclists feel safe out on the road. Okay, So that's Uvalda Street. And if you do have any questions, oh, I see Maggie's got a hand up. Let's take a second for Maggie to.
Hey, I just wanted to chime in on one quick thing, because
yeah.
one question folks might have is, why aren't we doing the top portion of Uvalda to get all the way to the great new facilities up at 56th? And so just quickly, you may or may not have also heard that the stormwater program in the city is doing a significant program. And yes, see where the so from Maxwell North to 56th, that section is going to get a significant rebuild, primarily for the purpose of improving the way that water flows through that area during storms. But the entire roadway is going to get rebuilt during that, and they're going to continue what we've done on the southern section all the way to the north. And as you guys might have seen, just across 56th up there, once all that construction is finally done on 56th, there is a brand new entrance to the Rocky Mountain Arsenal that's been installed there. So this will be a great community asset to get folks on their bikes up to the Arsenal to be able to ride the trail around the Arsenal.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maggie. That is a great point. So that north section is not going to be installed right now, but it is coming. Okay, great. So that's the first of two project areas that we wanted to talk about tonight. The other one is Kittredge Street between 53rd Ave and Green Valley Ranch Boulevard. Here, just like with the other corridor, we see a map of the study area. Kittredge Street is the dashed blue line there in the middle of your screen. And again, we have our legend that shows proposed and existing bicycle facilities. In this case, it shows, since Kittredge is a dashed light blue line, that means it is proposed as a bike lane. Here is, here's mobility in the corridor today. Kittredge Street from 53rd to 51st Ave so this one kind of has two pieces. Again, we talk about a road classification of a collector. Again, that's a medium road, so not as big or as small as some other type of road. The same posted speed limit of 25 miles an hour, detached sidewalks instead of attached at this point. Again, no on-street bike facility, and there is a transit route on this street. In the lower right-hand side, you can see a photo of the street as it exists today. And in the lower left-hand side, our example cross-section that shows the width of each lane. And this is mobility in the corridor today on the southern block. So like I said, this one has two pieces. So this is the mobility in the corridor today on the southern block between 51st Ave and Green Valley Ranch Boulevard. A lot of the details up at the top are pretty similar, but you can see at the bottom, there is this grassy median that exists and two travel lanes in each direction. So, excuse me, the cross section is a little bit different here. So again, with this corridor, as with the other one, we go out and collect data. If you remember, the volume is actually quite similar to the other corridor at 3,200 vehicles. But the speeds are a little higher. They're 29 miles per hour each direction instead of 25. So we know that we have speeds that are a little bit higher than we want on this corridor. Here's our crash picture again. You can see there are 26 vehicle crashes along the corridor, and they are primarily concentrated at the intersection of Kittredge Street and Green Valley Ranch Boulevard. This again should look familiar. This is our proposed bike facility type and proposed cross sections. So on Kittredge Street on the left-hand side, our facility selection chart shows another familiar orange dot that shows the speed and volume. And again, just like with Uvalda Street, we find ourselves proposing a bike lane with a buffer preferred. Now, if you look at the cross sections on the right-hand side, you'll see that one section of the road, exactly this sort of south section between Green Valley Ranch Boulevard and 51st Ave, is wider. So we have more room for a bike lane and a buffer and to still maintain a travel lane in each direction. On the north part of the corridor between 51st Ave to 53rd Ave, we have a narrower street that doesn't have as much pavement for us to work with. So to maintain both bike lanes, both travel lanes, and a loading zone for school buses for the adjacent school, we have to lose that buffer. So we have a partially buffered bike lane on this facility, which is really the best option for us in this situation because of the limited space we have out on the roadway. Here are a few more of our planned mobility improvements. Some of these might look familiar. We'll have some more of the green crossing, conflict markings at our, for bikes on the left. We'll have both buffered and conventional bike lanes, which you can see above. And then on the lower photos, we wanted to include some of these because we know that there are some additional improvements that are planned for the intersection of Green Valley Ranch Boulevard and Kittredge Street that are going to be part of an additional project that's going to install a traffic signal at that location. We have these photos grayed out a little bit. They're faded back a little bit because we know that those improvements aren't happening yet. They're going to happen when the traffic signal is built. The city is still working on determining a source of funds to get those the traffic signal and get those improvements on Green Valley Ranch Boulevard installed. So that's still a to be determined situation, but we wanted to show at least a little bit of an image to show that this is what we're going to be working with. All right, last but not least, some more of the project benefits. Again, you can see the yellow people on bicycles on the north and south end of the corridor, identifying that this Kittredge Street project is going to connect two proposed or more than two proposed and existing bike facilities, both continuing south on Kittredge, on Green Valley Ranch Boulevard, and on 53rd Ave. There's also purple stars to show you all the different amenities or destinations in this area that the bike facility is going to improve access to. And I'm going to mention again, the traffic calming effect when we have, and we have, as you saw on the other slide, we have higher speeds on this corridor. And so we're installing a bikeway which will help narrow the road and reduce the speed that drivers choose and help people abide by the speed limit that is posted on the street. So that's all I have to say about Kittredge. And again, we will pause in another moment to take questions. But I wanted to take one moment to talk about what we call our plan to project timeline. So this slide starts on the left-hand side of your screen way back in 2011 with our Denver Moves Bike plan. Moves through several, the dark blue section is all of the plans where our project has been recommended. The light blue is our design process. So starting in February, we began our design process with our Educate and Understand meeting. We're here in June in the summer with our design intent meeting. We're going to spend the rest of the summer finishing up the design. And then we don't know exactly when, but at some point in late summer or fall, this is going to transition to the orange, yellow, gold. I'm not sure exactly what color that is. The gold phase, let's call it, for construction. And we will be installing this project later this year in late summer or fall. Next steps, we want you to stay involved. We want you to stay in contact with us. You can visit our project website. It's bit.ly/Denver Bike Paving, or you can contact us, email bikes@denvergov.org and include the name of the street that you're interested in. Or you can call our hotline at 720-865-9378. You can also join our email list by leaving your email in the chat, or there's a way to sign up for emails by visiting that bit.ly Denver Bike Paving website. And if you need any more of this information, you can certainly type it in the chat and we can leave it for you to make sure that you can get the email address or the phone number or the website. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Alicia for our question and answer period.
Great. Thank you, Wesley and Maggie. I'm going to start out by reminding everybody that this meeting is being recorded, so we will also have that posted, a link to that on the website so that you all can pass it on to your neighbors. And also just to note, we pretty much hit our goal of being done with technical content by tip off. So I feel like we're winning there for now. But I wanted to open it up right now, and Liz has posted the contact info in the chat as well. So I wanted to open it up for Q&A, and since we have a relatively small group today, you're welcome to raise your hand or even just unmute yourself if you have a question. To the Jeopardy theme song here, so.
And while we wait to see if anyone has any questions, I just wanted to point out that the Councilwoman's office, Councilwoman Gilmore's office, and then also District 8, we're going to be working with them to push out the recording of this video and make sure that folks can watch this when there's not a Nuggets game going on, so they can take a peek at it, digest the information, and that also counts for anyone who's on the meeting now. If you think of a question tomorrow morning or while you're driving to work or biking to work, you can shoot that over to us via email or give us a call. And please encourage your neighbors to take a peek at this and let them know what's being planned for their community.
So we have a good question from Darnell. I'm going to pass this to you, Wesley. The question is about what the traffic is going to be like afterwards. And Darnell mentions that something about Andrews Drive, about a bottleneck there. So do we anticipate any of that? And what are we thinking the traffic and congestion is going to look like after?
Sure. So this is why we collect that data, and this is why we want to make sure to describe it. We collect the volume of traffic so we can make an educated attempt to understand how traffic is going to flow after we make changes to the road. The numbers that we have there, 3,500 vehicles on Uvalda, which I saw was the one you're asking about, and 3,200 on Kittredge. Those are low numbers for a collector street. A collector street could go up 3 times that much traffic without becoming seriously congested. And especially these are streets that have 2 travel lanes in each direction. And so they were built to handle a volume of traffic that has not materialized. Based on our traffic counts that we took, we're confident that this will not cause undue traffic delay or create a bottleneck.
Thank you for jumping into the questions for now. Yeah, you're welcome. I also, Teresa, I saw you had your hand up for a second. Did you still have a question?
Oh, no, I don't. I just wanted to say we're looking forward to working with Maggie and your team about getting the word out and helping folks navigate how to provide feedback if they have feedback, or get to y'all if they have any questions.
Great, yes, and thank you to you and your office for helping us make that happen. Okay, what other questions do you have? And we can also hang on here too if you've gotten your questions answered. But I want to make sure we have adequate opportunity here for the folks who are here. You go back and show a certain slide too, if that's helpful. Anyone? All right, we'll give it one more minute. But after that, then the project team or most of the project team can hang on here in case anybody pops on. But given if we don't have any more questions, those folks who have heard the meeting and want to go watch the game, no more technical content presented. So let's see, one more scan through here. Not see anything else or anyone else with their hands raised. So thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate the time. We know it's time is precious, and we know the game has started already. So thank you for your time, and please help spread the word. Tell your neighbors. We're going to be getting the recording of this out and the materials out. So appreciate your time and enjoy your evening. project team, I think probably 3 or 4 of us, Maggie and Wesley and I, and Jean can stick around.